Welcome to the Embodying Divinity Masterclass. Today we have Rebecca Chapman with us, and I'm so excited to speak with you, Rebecca. Rebecca is a resilience and childhood emotional neglect specialist, and thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure, my honor. Thank you so much for asking me.
So beautiful. So I would love to invite you, Rebecca, to share with us, to begin with, the journey that you've been on or that you've taken so far to get to the truth of who you are.
Okay, well, that's been a fair portion of my life. I got into childhood emotional neglect coaching because that was something that I did experience, but I didn't realize that till I was 40-something. So I was trying a lot of stuff in the meantime. I got into alternative therapies probably at 16, which was a bit of a gift. Somebody gave me a book on meditation, and I met up with a few other people, and I just started meditating at 16, don't know why, don't know how. So I kind of hooked in at that point there, but I come from a family of very strong women. Not always,
I can relate to that.
Not always in the more positive sense. So, and I was very different to them. So I guess I now see it as a gift that I was left kind of on my own to find my own things. But I was very intellectually driven, very ambitious, very take no prisoners. I did very well at school. I did very well at uni, and didn't particularly like it. And a very high achiever.
Yeah.
Fell pregnant at 21 and became a mum, which was the start of my journey into my femininity. I'd been adamant I didn't want children.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had 3 children, and one of them was very, very sick. So that took me out of the world, is a nice way to put it, for a while. But I'm a stubborn woman. And I was trying to be an alpha woman in all of that and have my alternative therapies business and keep going. And at 29, I had a stroke.
Wow.
Which I think, in hindsight, was the biggest gift that's ever been given to me.
Funny how they come in strange wrapping paper.
But you have to do that to me. You have to chop me off at the legs, or else I don't take any notice. So this highly achieving, highly alpha, and I will say highly masculine-driven woman, who I was, because that's what I had seen, was lying in a bed, couldn't walk, couldn't speak, couldn't talk. And so I would say I spent 6 to 12 months learning to receive. Now that is my big thing with all my clients, is with women, and part of being a woman and part of your empowerment, you don't often, receiving is seen as being submissive or as being passive, but it's actually a very conscious decision you have to make. Because I fought it, trust me, it doesn't just it's not something that comes naturally.
Well, I think so much of society is kind of, as women, we naturally give as well. So it's like we're supported to give, and we naturally give. So we're just like hell for leather giving.
And we think that that's what we're here for. And I'll say just quickly now, once you start learning to receive, the world changes quite a bit. Your relationship with the men in your life will change extraordinarily. Your gentleness with yourself, or just all your relationships will change. But as I said, I fought it. It took me, say, 3 years I had to learn to walk, talk, and everything again. And I'd always considered myself to be my brain.
Yes.
Because that's what my family, in our family as a woman, it was your looks and it was your brain. And how you could help the man in your life. So here I was, looking like crap, feeling like crap, absolutely at the mercy of everybody. In fact, I had a nurse, and they thought I didn't know what was going on, so they had The Truth About Cats and Dogs, which is a movie.
Yeah.
But they thought I didn't know, so they were just playing it on repeat.
Oh my gosh.
And so at that point, I learned surrender too. So I can't watch the movie, but every time I think about that movie now, I think about letting people do stuff for me. I had a lot of friends bring me food, and I'd been the one who'd done it. You know, I had at that point 3 children. I was staying at home. I had one of them sick. I had given up my career pretty much at that point. Yeah, so it was the biggest lesson. And also the other lesson, which I'll pop in here, which isn't quite so relevant, is please tell people who you care about. You care about them. Because part of my being strong female was also to being very individual and not needing anybody, when in true essence I needed them desperately.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest regret would have been not having told them that. But yeah, so that's my lesson there. Then there's another story for another time in between there. In the next 10 years I had an unusual marriage, which I actually had to go to a refuge to escape from. And after that I started working again. Now, I've always worked in alternative therapies, but so a lot of body work, a lot of mind work. I always practice it on myself. I've tried a whole lot of things myself, and I adored my clients. But I kept seeing these damaged, and I at that time worked with women. And I couldn't work out what the missing link was. And it was 2 things. It quite often was that in their childhood they weren't recognised for who they were. They were just seen as a girl child.
Yeah.
And this is what a girl child is. And this is what they like. And this is what they do. And the other thing that I learned, which I'm kind of forgetting a little bit now, so was that, yes, women have this strange definition of femininity and feminine power, where they have to surrender or they have to submit, even to themselves. Sometimes some people don't tell you, you know, if we go out for dinner, you have to submit to what the guy wants to do or what another woman wants to do. It's so subconscious. That teaching people to step back in and even work out what it is that they like.
Yeah. I think a big piece of the puzzle as well that comes after that is, you know, having the effective communication, but we can't, you know, actually being able to have a conversation where it's in that instance of the dinner, you know, I'd actually prefer to do something like this, you know, can we find somewhere that's kind of midway? But we can't even get to that point unless we can actually tune into what it is that we want or need.
And we don't know, because we quite often get told, oh no, you're not angry. And there's a similar thing for men, but we're concentrating on the women here. But your girls don't get angry, or that's not how you're feeling. Don't be silly. Or if you come home and say that somebody, say, bullied you as a girl, that's always, oh, you know, well, what did you do? Or just go and be nice. Just go and be nice.
Or don't let it bother you.
Don't
harden up kind of stuff.
Harden up, and it's a strange female hardening up, but they don't sit down and say, what exactly is the feeling that you have right now? Which might be rejection, which might be, you know, anger. It can be anger, all degrees of anger. And because we're not equipped with that language when we're little as girls to express those feelings, more powerful feelings, I would call them, when we're old, we can't do it. And so when we actually do say it, it can come across as quite aggressive. But when you speak your truth to people, gently, firmly, you hardly ever will get anybody who will come back at you.
Absolutely.
They meet your truth with their truth.
Yeah.
But we're so scared that actually when we say it, it often comes across as pinched.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my work with women is working with them just speaking their truth. And it takes them a while to do that with me too.
Well, it's learning a new skill and a new habit, isn't it? And it's exercising a new muscle.
Well, I say it's like speaking a second language, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I equip people with little books of emotions. Quite often when they'll say, because women will act with 3 emotions. I feel upset, I feel angry, and there's all this kaleidoscope of emotions in the middle. I said, you might just be frustrated.
Yeah.
You might be pissed off.
Yeah.
It's not angry 0-10.
Yeah.
So just helping people to sit back and say, which of these is it?
That book sounds fantastic. I want one of them.
One of it is that you feel.
Yeah.
And then it's when you go to somebody else with this language, and language is power, especially around your throat chakra.
Yeah.
Is that they will hear you. But if they've been taught a much bigger language and you haven't, when you say angry, they think angry.
Yeah.
And get defensive.
Yes.
But it's about being able to speak it without. I think for women, a lot of your divinity is in what you've got to say, is in your message. And this idea that you have to bring it across aggressively is not true.
Because I think as well, it's it's not just, I agree with you in the expression of that divinity, or divinity being expressed in that way through women. And a part of it is obviously what we say and the words that we use. And a whole other part of it happens on a subtle level, doesn't
it?
It's absolutely. Like, engulfing the field kind of thing.
Exactly. But if you're not opening your field up to somebody else, it's about teaching vulnerability and safety to women, to find that within themselves. And also with other women, how do you find, which I spend a lot of time with my clients too, how do you find, and I'm going to use the word safe, it's not a word I like, your people. How do you find your people you can be vulnerable with? You have to have them. I don't care. I mean, I left home at 17, looked after myself, thought that I didn't need a soul. I think probably the last 10 years, my lesson has been that I do.
Yeah.
And so to teach people how to choose friends, choose your people, and how to get that feeling of safeness. Again, it's all about the vibe. Because again, as kids, we're told, no, just go and hug auntie whoever. And you say to your mum and dad, I don't want to. Or I don't really want to go to their house. And I'm not saying the kids shouldn't go. I'm saying the parents should sit down and say, tell me why you don't.
Yeah.
Use some language. So a lot of the work is you're helping women find their tribe, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But as I said, it's so ingrained, it can take quite a while. But read the vibe, because we're also taught. I don't think that I often call it my witchy senses, my juju. I don't think it's treasured enough. I think we should be able to say to each other, well, why do you feel that way? I just have a very strong feeling.
Yeah, I have a strong sense.
I have a sense that I don't want to be around that person.
Yeah.
I do want to be.
Yeah.
To go to someone and go, I don't know why I want to speak to you. Really strong need to contact you.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that years ago I used to feel like, being vulnerable or the attainment of vulnerability meant that world with everyone, and I came
no
that there are layers of openness. I had it through 20 years ago, and there was layers of openness with which to approach life and approach the circles within my life. And I feel like that can be quite powerful as well, because I've definitely come from a situation where I've been heavily in my masculine and quite closed from my emotionality, and really not having much emotional acuity in terms of, you know, understanding the subtleties of my emotions and how to express that. But I think, yeah, one of the things that has been helpful for me is recognizing that, you know, also learning that I can pick and choose where I'm always my true self and I'm always authentic, but I choose where I go to what level of vulnerability, like you were talking about, how safe am I in this situation? How far can I go?
Exactly. And that's one of the biggest lessons in what I do, is you don't have to blurt everything out to everybody.
That's really like a leaking of our energy, isn't it? Especially if it's not being met on the other side by...
Exactly. And also too, we tend to blurt our faults out, like, you know, and then say, well, do you still like, you know, it's like we have to fess up to our faults. And I think too that part of the feminine thing is that we, you know, if you're gonna, we have them. And I'm teaching my clients, we have them. And to even learn to have a bit of a laugh about it. You know, it doesn't mean don't work on them, doesn't mean you should use them as an excuse to hurt somebody else. But we're here to learn lessons.
Yeah.
So yeah, and who you pick for who. It's so important, and what level of communication is appropriate with who. I say there's some people that we vertically question. So that's just getting information. So you're both there, and some you'll horizontally question. So I'm not feeling well. Why? And you can go as deep on that horizontal scale as you want according to the person. You know, it's very appropriate for your energy. Sometimes with some people, you just want information and they just want information, and don't give them more. You'll notice quite often that men don't.
Yeah.
Very much. So yeah. And I think too, one of the other big lessons which just came to my mind with all of this in the communication is that how fantastic it is in your relationships with partners, especially men, when you start to soften. And it's not going back to the 1950s wife. But what I also work with men, so I get an interesting perspective.
Amazing. That would be amazing.
It's an amazing perspective on this, and they want to look after us, the good men. And I noticed it first with my sons, who used to want to take my groceries in and out.
Yeah.
And when they did, they'd puff up with pride, even since they were, you know, I mean, they're quick, since they were tiny. And that once we become softer and more feminine, the men in our life just thrive because we allow them to step into their masculinity. And that's not, you know, strength and buff and big physicality. That's just letting them, in true fact, they are nurturers.
Yeah, and providers.
And let them do it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people's relationships, I see the woman just pushing the man away and he's just saying, what can I do?
Yeah.
So again, even in your friendships, I've had a nasty infection for quite a while. And even now I have to learn to let my friends bring me food. You know, it's like, what can I do? And I'm always, my first instinct is that, probably yours too.
Yes.
No,
I don't need anything. I'm all right.
I'm okay. And
I don't want to bother you.
I don't want to bother. And in fact, you're bothering them by saying no.
Yeah.
Because they want to do something for you.
And they're going to get joy from...
They get joy from it. So it's huge thing with being feminine, to just let yourself be the queen, I guess, is the best way to put it. And it's so hard. Especially women who have difficult relationships with their fathers. It's easier for me with clients whose fathers have adored them.
Yeah.
They're not often the ones I see. But it's just soften for your own sake too. And it's so hard. You would know too. I don't want people to think this is something where you look at your diary and you say, all of a sudden, I'm going to pop in a self-care Sunday. Because now I have clients with that who'll be constantly texting me saying, I don't know, please let me go out in the garden and plant something, you know, please. So, it's baby steps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I've been in partnership with my man for 6 years now, and that relationship has been the biggest invitation for me to move more into my feminine, because with the two of us, I was definitely the one who was erring more on the masculine than he was, just because I was so masculinized in the way that I was, brought up in society and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think that's uncommon. So it was really, I guess, obvious with him, how kind of polarized I was internally. And, it's been a process of really kind of coming into more balance.
Yeah, exactly. And that's generally where people do it. It's not always in relationship with a male partner. I have, or it can be a friend. It can be, but it has to happen in relationship. And sometimes that happens in the relationship with your therapist. Sometimes it can happen there, and then you can kind of transfer that out into real life. But it has to happen in relationship, because you have to practice sitting there.
Yes.
And it's so uncomfortable. It's like anything. Don't give up.
Yeah. it's worth it, and it's a journey, but
and sometimes I say even to women, go and watch a movie you want to see by yourself. Wow. That is so difficult for them. The first time, I stay in contact with my clients. If I like them to text me so we can work on it immediately.
Yeah.
So I take on less clients but work more intensely.
Yeah.
And or go on, what sort of food do you like to eat? Go and buy it. And quite often they'll say they walk around the supermarket aimlessly for hours.
What do I like?
What would I really like to eat?
Wow.
And it's okay to have these needs. It doesn't make you needy.
Yes.
And it doesn't make you selfish. I've come up with selfish quite a bit. Hate that word.
Yeah.
With women, I think it's been used quite a bit. And there's some words used to describe vain. I think when women look after themselves, taking time to have a mani-pedi, whatever, it's not my thing, but if that's your thing, that it's not selfish and it's not vain.
No, I think that when we serve ourselves and when we can meet our own needs at, the best level that we can, we are able to be of greater service to everyone.
So much more, so much, and with each other too. I think part of it is getting, like I said, getting your tribe who support you. Tough old world.
Yeah.
It's really tough out there. And, my clients say, where do I find these people? And unfortunately, these people are not generally right out the front on Instagram. They're not right out there. They're usually at home. They're usually, but they're there.
Yeah.
And just like you said, put the feelers out, certain level of communication with other women, and just support each other. That sense of community has gone.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because this year, with everything that was happening with the fires down the coast, I was getting this real sense of, I was starting to see community come together in new ways, and really feeling that viscerally, and how critical that was and is going to be for us, and is anyway. We know that statistically with the internet and social media and all that kind of stuff, and isolation and how that affects longevity. So we know, but I was really getting this strong sense of how critical community is to us and is for us. And for me, what that has meant is that this year, I feel for me, is all around community. And initially I felt like that was going to be building community. That's the first word, because naturally those two words go together in my head. But a little while later it dropped in that actually it's more about me being in my communities in deeper ways. So
you've gone from masculine to feminine there very clearly.
yeah, in communion with myself, in community with my partner, with my family, in my local community. So I've got a meetup group. So that's one way that people who I think feel isolated, you know, can find their tribe. They can start a meetup group, or they can find ones that, you know, feel resonant to them in their area. And yeah, and then also, you know, I've always made incredible connections via Instagram and Facebook and social media, and just really wanting to, you know, have less, you know, basically have deeper connections in these online forums that we have access to, because they can be incredible tools when used in a way that, you know, is
absolutely. Well, I'm quite remote, and I was in Melbourne.
Okay.
But the internet's just fabulous. Quite apart from the fact I can see my kids and my new grandchild and everything, but I can still talk to the women I want to talk with, and even just like this, you still, so it's fantastic. And I think once you look past the top layer of Facebook and internet, there is really a lot of women out there who are just amazing, doing amazing things. I've met some incredible women on Instagram, and they'll check in, and that's all we need, just someone to just check in. Hey, you've been quiet a couple of days.
And
we have to remember not to say I'm fine. I'm actually feeling crap.
Totally. Well, it's about you know, authenticity and vulnerability, I think, there as well. And we have an opportunity to, when we're sharing on social, to do so in a way, an opportunity, and I would say also almost a bit of a responsibility.
I think we have a responsibility
to not show up just as but, you know, to show up with the things that kind of other struggles, you know.
Exactly, and you know,
as well,
the truth, I think. And I think probably that would be after the stroke, that would be my number one thing. It's just truth. I just want to hear other people's truth. And you just want somewhere where you can speak your truth. And, you know, I don't want an action plan from someone else. I don't want, but just someone to sit and go, okay, you know.
We have our own wisdom, which comes forward when people hold space for us.
Exactly. And it's just, you know, what can I do for you is always a lovely thing to say to somebody. What can I do for you right now? And then if they say nothing, just check in. But that's what women do for women. I think men should do it for men too, but that's what women do for women. And again, that's not that alpha, I'm going to come over and we're going to solve this problem and get rid of this guy for you, and we're just going to write a text to him. It's just, let's just sit in a little woman's circle, and you can call it that. It doesn't have to be a cup of tea, whatever, and just let our energy help each other. You know, have some light energy, and let's just sit till there's a solution, not rush out and do.
We don't have to find it. It will just naturally come.
And just also letting ourselves not do things. So if, you know, especially with kids and the shopping and everything, give yourself a break. Get online shopping. And don't feel guilty. As a woman, you're there for your family. It's not about all those other things. They need your energy. They need your warmth, your safety, and this includes your partner. It doesn't have to be kids. Be there. Be present. But first, you have to be present for yourself.
I think our energy is the greatest gift that we've got, and just like you said, we gift it to ourselves first, and then we can gift it to others. And when we're in space with other women, it's really about just being together, like you said. And I feel like one of the gifts that offers is that just being in a space that isn't needing an answer or a solution kind of allows us to drop and allows our nervous system to go into that space of safety, you know, even if it's just for an amount of time. It's a really good space to be.
It is, and a thing that just came to me then, which was very interesting, a big energy lesson that I had, was when I was pregnant. I've got 5 children. When I was pregnant with the boys, I had an overwhelming desire to do.
Oh.
I was very assertive. I was very energized. When I got pregnant with the girls, almost straight away I knew they were girls. It was a different.
Wow.
And I sat. My instinct was to sit. And so straight away I knew they were girls. The energy change was profound.
Wow.
And
How amazing.
That's when I learned the difference. And I quite often talked about it. I was much more emotional with the girls, much more in touch with myself. With the boys, yeah, just let's paint the cot, let's do this. And I was riding a bike at 7 months and everything else like that. With the girls, I was very peaceful. And that was the gift that my baby girls gave to me, was that energy. And that's when I learned, wow, there is, and you can deny that men and women are different all you want, but there is a profound energetic difference.
Yeah.
Neither one better, neither one weaker.
Yeah. And while each individually has a leaning in their energy, we all contain both as well.
Yeah. And it's really important to balance it. Really, really important. And to have a good friend who'll say to you, hey, dude, you're a bit, you know, you're getting a little bit aggro at the moment. Maybe have a massage or something, you know, what's up?
Yeah, what's going on for you?
What's going on that you have to get in this strong male energy with me? Sometimes you need to. But yeah, when I felt that profound energy difference and saw it, I guess, it after I was born. Yeah, it was quite a lesson for me, and I'm like, and this is a thing. This is not something that I have gender, you know, put into them as a child or anything.
Yeah,
a thing.
It's so interesting because I've never heard anyone speak about that, about having that real sense while pregnant that they're, you know, doing one or the other.
I'll ask my clients actually just for fun when they're pregnant, and usually we're right, not always, but we're right. Yeah, you just get very driven with the boys. And I am actually not a highly, as we discussed, feminine person. I wasn't brought up very, you know, I liked motorbikes and but yes, when I was pregnant, actually being pregnant with a girl was the big shock. And I think the lesson for me. And she is so incredibly beautifully in her femininity. That yeah, it was a lesson. Okay, this is a thing, and this is actually quite nice. No, and as you say, as your this whole wonderful course is about, it's about balancing it.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So Rebecca, I would love to ask you about, you know, obviously you help a lot of your clients with if they've experienced childhood emotional neglect. So how can that affect us as adults, and what can we do about it now? Like, what does that look like?
It looks like generally people feeling not enough, imposter syndrome, not wanting to speak their mind. When they come to therapy, they'll quite often say, I had a good childhood, and they did. So I'm not talking about profound trauma here. That's a whole other thing. I do deal with that. That's not what I'm talking about. It's where perhaps your parent just didn't get you, you know? And for a child, that's big. So if you might, I'm going to give a tiny little example, but if you wanted to learn the guitar and they insisted that you learn the piano, and this happened continuously, so you're continuously negated in what you like, what you, and you're also being asked to do things for appearances generally, so that the family looks okay. Learn to do things for appearances.
Yeah.
And so that everything's okay. Generally, these people are very scared of conflict. because they were the child in the family who had to stop the conflict all the time. They were usually very empathic, read everything very well. They're very good at reading situations and adapting themselves into situations to fit. But in all of this time, by the time they hit 30 or 35, they're exhausted. Their partner will quite often say, I don't feel like I really know you. And when I start asking them questions about themselves, they can't answer. How do you feel? Because their parent has quite often said, this is how we feel. This is how our family feels about this. Quite often called the black sheep, quite often the scapegoat. And because they're different and their parent doesn't understand, they're like the family garbage bin, which is a horrible thing to say, but everything that goes wrong in the family is blamed on them. And they just accept that.
Yeah. So, Rebecca, a part of me would think that, you know, all children experience some level of neglect that creates some kind of, you know, aspect for their learning through life. What do you think about that? And
yeah, absolutely.
Are there different levels?
There's completely different levels.
Yeah.
And they're not less than. Yeah. Because the thing is, again, we're talking about emotions as a language. When you're talking about a child who's that age, they don't have the language to explain how they're feeling, so they always think it's them. And they learn all of these things while they don't have the language.
Yeah.
And just carry it through. But absolutely, there's some, and look, it's about the resilience aspect of it too. Some kids are fine. So you can have kids in the same family with the same parents. And people often say, but my brother's okay. I don't care about your brother.
Yeah.
I really don't care, because what's happened to you is what's happened to you, and it's real. They'll quite often shut off from partners. That's a big thing. Push themselves at work. Be very, like I was saying, very individual. Don't need anybody. And if they feel like they need somebody, they feel weak.
Yeah, it's really seems like, you know, spending much more of their energy and time in the outside world than within, you know, it's an avoidance of within kind of it.
Well, they think they're flawed. So essentially everyone who's had this to a certain level, as you were saying, there's levels, and at a certain level, they feel there is a flaw, because as a child, they knew they weren't right. So, well, they were quite often given messages that they weren't right. So they carry this through, and they think they have a huge, huge, huge flaw, but they don't.
Yeah.
So they won't let anybody get to know them in case they find this flaw. So the therapy is about trying to work out, you know, what do you think people are going to find out? And because they were kids, they think if you have a flaw as a kid, you're worried your parents are going to leave you and you're going to be destitute.
Yeah, yeah.
So that same thing carries through. So you think, if I show people my flaw, my world will blow up. And again, just find, and generally they've chosen people who that might be the case with. So quite often they've chosen somebody who would reinforce the parent's message.
Yeah.
So it's about finding friends, and this is a state that they've got used to. So this is their control, this is their norm. So if I try and put them in a situation that's safe, that to them feels unsafe.
Yes.
So it's about learning that. But I think the number one thing is they feel...
So many layers of complexity to being a human, aren't there?
Just saying, you know, perhaps...
Holy moly.
Well, with my kids, I say, you know, I know I've messed up so much. If you write it in a book, I'll sign it. You know, but there's parents out there who would be absolutely devastated if that got out.
I do. Yeah. I say that to my partner sometimes. I'm like, sometimes stuff from the childhood of the children that is going to traumatize them. It's going to be traumatic for them, and we have no idea what thing it's going to be at what point. Do is our best.
But admit it. Admit it. And that's the difference with the parents. And I had probably a picture perfect looking childhood. And so it's also getting these people to admit that, to say something that maybe their parent wasn't perfect can take me 2 or 3 sessions.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, when you have a kid, they're not mini-me's.
Yes.
They're really not mini-me's, so please don't have them for that reason, people. But
you just reminded me that I remember the exact moment, and it was like the world stood still when I was a teenager and I realized that my parents didn't have it all together, that they weren't perfect. I was like, oh my God, hold the phones. What's going on? Because up until that point, you know,
yes.
I just, all of my, you know, I just fully believed that.
And it's not that they don't love you.
No.
It's a completely separate thing. And I also work with kids, with parents too. So it's interesting. And what I am going to say is that a lot of people with childhood emotional neglect are scared to have kids. And they'll quite often come to me with that, I will pass this on. And again, letting the message through, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Heck no. I'm relieved when my kids, I was 21 and I didn't know babies woke up in the middle of the night. You know, it was, I quite often say to my son, I was learning with you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Please come to me with anything. But I was winging it, dude. You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, they're just, you have to get to know them, the kids. And if the parents don't take the time to sit down and say, what's your favorite color? And I'm not saying give in to the kids all the time. That's not what I'm saying. But just find out about the kid. And when you do something wrong, let them come home. And you say, okay, maybe you did mess up a bit. What can you do next time?
Yeah.
The parents of kids with childhood emotional neglect will usually go, oh, how could you do that to me? How am I going to show my face at school? What will the other mothers think? You know, especially if you hurt some other kid. Oh, now I have to go up and see the principal. Instead of we'll go and see the principal together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's try and sort this out together.
Yeah.
So it's about feeling very alone as a kid too, I think. I've many questions to ask you now about when you came to the realization, but I'll do that another time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and so it's about just seeing that it's okay to be flawed, I think. So it's not about telling people that they're not flawed. And it's also, they're not coming to me to get fixed.
Yeah.
I'm not fixing them. My job is to show them how enough they are.
Yeah.
And that you don't have everyone like you.
Yeah.
This is another belief system they get. And I still have it sometimes, drives my partner loopy.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that's a part of my package.
You say to me quite often, why do you care? And I have to actually go sit and think. But it's like, that's not what your life's about, other people. Your life's about you.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay. You're enough as you are.
Yeah.
Even with all your horrid flaws, that, well, you'll call them horrid, you know?
Yeah.
And if someone finds it out and leaves, my saying to my client would be, so what? That's not your person. And you might feel some grief for a while. Let's just sit and feel the grief. But
yeah.
And so
I think if people can't be with the truth of who we are, then they're not our people.
They're not it doesn't make them wrong either. They're just not a spot.
Just not a match.
Yeah, but it's about not fixing people. And I think people come to me to be fixed quite often. It takes me quite a while to say, you know, can't do that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So is it more about kind of awareness and acceptance of what is, rather than,
and learning about themselves?
Yeah.
Who are you? Because generally these people have a very, very small idea of who they are. It's always in relation to another person. So it's about asking the questions that should have been asked as a kid. So if they have a hard time at work and they come to me, it's like, well, how do you feel?
Yeah. And
finding out what the actual feeling is. Going through the list of emotions, working out which one it actually is. And just going, okay, that's how you feel, and saying, look, I've got this huge thick book of emotions. And because they quite often say, I don't do anger. And I say, I've got this big thick book of emotions and we all have all of them. All of them.
You don't get to discard any of them.
You don't get to just say that you don't do stuff.
Yeah.
No, and
because you do, but if you think you don't, then it's probably just you buried it somewhere deep.
Exactly. You don't have to express them to what's an appropriate way to express it. But yeah, just you are enough. And to see, sometimes I'll get a text in the middle of the day or someone will have got it.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, it's my happiest. It's like, that's why I'm here. I'm going to go. That's why I'm here is to just have someone be themselves and to realize, you know.
Yes.
Wow. And the world suddenly colour. You know, try telling your partner what you want for dinner. Try telling them.
Yeah.
And the world's not going to cave in.
No. See what happens. Worth a try.
Usually they'll go and get it. And sometimes that's not what I want. I'll say that's not what I want. And you just have to go, okay, but at least you've said it.
Yeah.
You put it out there.
Totally.
Yeah.
So Rebecca, I would love to ask you, how do you embody divinity? What does that look like for you?
That for me, it's quite simple, is by being true to myself. And so that is checking myself in situations where I might be bending perhaps to how I would think other people would like me to be. I am strong, a strong personality, and accepting that, and accepting that that's the vehicle through which I can reach other people.
Yeah.
And also, I think being a good mum, being the mum that I think my children need for me is huge, is a huge part of it. And therefore sending out into the world humans that also are in touch with their feelings and their energy. And sometimes that's scary because they're not made for it. But it's being true to myself, because I think I spent a good 43 years not. Now it's a long time.
Yeah.
I'll say thanks to my gorgeous earth angel partner at this point, who has helped me to change that. But it's about just saying, yeah, this is who I am, and sitting in it, because that helps everyone else do the same thing. I think, so that's
very powerful.
I meditate regularly. If you wanted something practical, I do meditate regularly.
Yeah.
I work with healers regularly. But and I walk regularly, which gets me back into my body. Yeah. Because as I can get up here a little bit. Yeah. So that will help me embody the female body I've been given, and whatever that entails. But yeah, I think my divinity is to have lived what I've lived and to speak the truth of it. And I would encourage everybody to that's where they need to get to. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, this has been a really powerful conversation for me even already, because I can see how much I do that, and I can also I'm also feeling invited to step into that even more, you know, which I guess it's a lifelong journey, isn't it? Oh, it is. And like I said, we both have, you know, I always say, if you haven't got any issues, then you're probably passed away. Yeah, exactly. You know, if you're beyond working on yourself, then you've ascended. I've got a 93-year-old best friend, and she still has issues with whether her sister or her is better looking. And she's at a nursing home now, and it's about, you know, a bit of argy-bargy there, and I think it just continues. Yeah. So accept that. Yeah. And you know, and you know, you're not cooked. Nobody's cooked. No. Know? Yeah. Well, I think it's a beautiful place to be, to you know, recognize that we're all in this together, and we're all, you know, on this journey of evolution, and none of us is perfect, and we're all perfect at the same time, and we're all just doing our best. And your gift doesn't negate someone else's, and their gift doesn't negate yours. That's the community thing. It's in the old shaman community, everybody has a role. And to recognize that now, that everybody has their role, and that their gift does not make your gift less.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Very true. So I know that you have a beautiful process for us that you'd like to share into something that you support your clients, I believe, to kind of realign their energy and reconnect to what they deeply need.
I do. So I do have this emotions book, which is available on my website. I'm switching websites, so if it's not, please email me and I will send it to you.
We'll share the link in the. Yeah. Okay, you give me the link.
That's cool, but there are some bugs. I'm not a website developer. So what it is I always ask them 3 questions and just write them down. I put them in my own wallet, and it's, what do I want? What do I feel? And what do I need? And I like to address it in the form of emotion. So how do I want to feel? I want to feel safe. I now feel vulnerable. I feel unsafe, and I need this in order to get to that feeling of safety. So it's not I want somebody to behave a certain way, or it's like, how do I want to feel at the end of this? And sometimes it means then you will let go of conversations, you will let go of things that are bothering you, because that will not lead you to that one word. It's usually, I want to feel accepted, I want to feel safe, and just put, especially in a conversation with someone where you're not quite getting your point across, if you can say to them, I want, I feel, I need, they'll be suddenly drawn into the conversation where they were feeling pushed away. Also, a very quick thing to do, and I'm happy to send anybody this list too, is just a list of things you like. So let's get to know yourself. Let's find out what food you like. Let's find out what colour you like. Tell me what your strengths are in your job. So 5 questions I actually have 25, but I can send 5. And just to sit and think, hey, find out about yourself. Find out about ways that you can feel nurtured, and it doesn't have to cost money. It does not have to be some expensive $200 facial. Just, I really like this flower. I really dislike this colour. Find out about yourself, because as women, we're not often taught to embrace those things, especially once we hit, say, high school, and our bodies start changing. Those things of where do I love to go for a holiday? Where would I love to go for a holiday? It sounds simple, but it's quite profound, because you'll realise at that point that you might not know. And all these things are about looking after yourself, and you can't look after yourself unless you know these things.
Totally. Yeah. And you're so right that these things don't have to, cost money. Like I find that one of the things that feels like the biggest gift for me is just giving myself time. If I give myself 5 minutes to just sit and do nothing, or just stare at the trees outside, I'm like, oh.
I have a little confession here. My degree is in criminology, so you have to remember that. My favourite thing is to watch true crime, and I lose myself. It took me ages to admit that to people, but that's my thing.
Yeah.
It costs me nothing. It might be, I don't care, some ridiculous lolly. I don't really care.
Yeah.
That's what does it for you.
Yeah.
That's what does it for you.
Find it out.
Find it out.
Give it to yourself.
Give it to yourself. Have it in the drawer. Whatever. Just have something. Maybe it's a really sensitive fabric, a fabric that you really like to touch. It's quite often something of the 5 senses.
Yeah.
A smell, a sight, a sound, a particular piece of music, and that can be heavy metal. I don't care. It hasn't got to be airy fairy spirituality meditation music. What it is for you. And have it in your back pocket, so when you're feeling a bit crap, you look after you. Look after that little kid that got neglected.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much for being with us today, Rebecca, and for sharing yourself so beautifully. Is there anything else that feels pertinent for you to?
No, I think that your questions were just perfect.
Oh,
I really enjoyed getting to know you, and you're
yeah.
really doing it too.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much. And how can people stay connected with you?
Well, you've got to put some links. I'm on Instagram. I'm under A Life in Perfect Balance.
Yes.
And my website is got some information. As I said, at the moment, the best thing there to do is to just pop on the list, pop on my newsletter list. And I'm writing some courses at the moment so people can do it at home. And then other courses where they can work with me. At the moment, I just work one-on-one.
Yeah.
But there's some people who I'm a huge introvert, believe it or not. And so I prefer sometimes to do courses at my own pace.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of developing them. They'll be out in a month. And if you put your name on the mailing list, you will hear about it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again. And yeah, I hope everyone's enjoyed this as much as I have. And
thanks for
I
sharing
look forward
your audience with me.
What's that?
Thanks for sharing your audience with me.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. It's been an honor. So thank you so much. And we'll talk again soon.
We will.